Ladies and gentlemen, you guys really liked the all legendaries rated 1 to 10, just like briefly gone through, and asked me to do the epics one. So what I'm going to do today, I got the hiccups again. What I'm going to do today is do every single epic in the game and give them a 1 to 10 rating. So if you want to know what your favorite epic is rated or the new character you just got and want to know if it's good, that's what today's video is going to be. And I'm going to be going left to right, Bannerlords, High Elves, Sacred Order, etc. So you can kind of skip through to get to the one you want. Pretty much that easy. All right, I love y'all. Please like this video as likes help out the channel, and let's get going. Okay, starting with the Bannerlords, Horden. He is worth $50, so 50 out of 10. No, I'm just kidding. So Horden's actually not too bad because he can kind of get an additional turn when you get a kill on somebody. He's got some buffs there, all right, and he can hit pretty hard. Maybe a 5 out of 10 epic. Lordly Legionnaire, probably about the same. He's okay in Fire Knight, even though he's a weak affinity. And the moves that he has are kind of interesting. You got the healer reduction for Fire Knight, right? Decreased speed, which again will land on Fire Knight, but I don't really think it matters, to be honest. And then reflect damage is where it kind of does matter, because reflect damage can trigger and proc his the Fire Knight's shield down. So that's why people use him there. You can also use that other dog. Oathbound can hit kind of hard. Maybe like a 5.5 or a 6. I mean, he's like usable, but not heavily usable. Sinesha could have been cool with his Veil, but I think it's like a 4 out of 10. Knight Errant hits pretty hard too, maybe a 6.5. Stag Knight is probably a 7.5 or an 8. If you look here, attacks all enemies, chance of playing decreased defense debuff, and decreased attack debuff. So it's like a Madame Cirrus. Very good character. Now here with Rowan. Rowan's one of the only characters based upon speed and has a poison, which is kind of interesting. I'd say maybe a 5.5. Azure, I'm not a big fan of Azure, maybe like a 3 or a 4. He has a cool protection. Warcaster's not bad, maybe like a 5.5 or a 6. I'm being a little harsh today just because it blocked damage. Crossbowman is now a rare, so we're out of the epics. Moving on to the High Elves. So let's go here. Now we get a 10 out of 10 epic with Royal Guard. We get like a 9 out of 10 with Tyrell. I mean, both Royal Guard and Tyrell are disgusting. People know about them already. Finesse was probably like a 6.5 or a 7. All around, not a bad healing kit. Lutheria, maybe like a 4.5. Okay, early game damage. Vergus recently got a buff. This move is okay now. You get reflect damage on a singular target, but you get 60% defense on himself, and then all allies get protection as well. And you can see you get reflect damage, continuous heal, etc., etc. If this was like on everybody, it'd be significantly better, but still kind of maybe like a 5 out of 10. Marksman, maybe a 5.5 out of 10 because now his basic has a poison and a chance to gain an extra turn. Kind of cool. For like clan boss early game. Jingle Hunter is an okay lead. He's probably like a 6 out of 10 early game, and then he drops down to like a 4. Battle Sage, you know, everyone keeps asking me what I think about Battle Sage, and I'm never impressed with her. I understand that this move here, ally speed in all battles, is hard to come by early on. Maybe a 4.5. I'm just not going to give her a high rate. I'm just not a fan. Exemplar, kind of same deal, maybe a 4.5. Then we get to Apothecary, which is the rares. Man, the epics go a little bit quicker than I thought. I thought there would have been a lot more. Here, speaking of a lot more, here we go. Canoness, let's look at their moves here. I don't know off the top of my head. I don't like it at all. That's like a 3. Adriel, same deal. We have to look at their moves here. Heals all allies 20% of their max HP, places reflect damage on them. I think that's fairly decent. AoE attack down. That's not bad. That's probably like a 5.5 or a 6, maybe a 6.5. Hope. Block buffs on target, increases duration of buff on all allies. Shield buff equal to 15% of this champion's HP. That's interesting. Chance of removing all buff. That's actually quite good. Maybe like a 6, 6.5, same deal. I'm going to be harsh on the epics, though. There's only a few that are really good. This character, I'm not a fan. It's a 3 times a random non-AoE. The buff is kind of interesting, but it doesn't have a turn meter fail. I'm going to say a 5. Could have been a lot better. Juliana's like a 7 early game, or like maybe like an 8.5 early game, then becomes like a 7 because she's pretty good in early game clan boss. Aothar, same deal. Early game clan boss, pretty good. Also, can still be used in like late game clan boss with some unkillable if you get this booked and not as A3, so maybe a 7. Relic Keeper, early game god, mid game, late game trash, like a 5 or a 4. Maybe a 4.5. Missionary, kind of same deal. Trash, I'd say 3.5, 4. Not very good. Romero, you know, this move here, the buff shield on all allies, 20% of their max HP, isn't terrible because it's 25% of max HP. But this move here is the only like decent one. Attacks all enemies 3 times, and you have to have Julie on there for it to work. So it's kind of like, Though he looks, I'm going to say, always pays his debts out of 10 for sure. Lady Tessa used to be called Sanction Purifier, by the way, but I think there was some like copyright names or something. Looks like a Diablo character. Block buff, stun, attacks with 1. He's got like the join move will be increased by 10% if it's under stun. I'll show you. Yeah. I mean, I'm going to say a 4 just because she has a charge. Bushy recently got the buff with the unkillable thing. He's still like a 4, maybe a 5. Phoenix, bomb guy. Yeah, like a 4. I'm just not a fan of these characters. Mistress of Hymns is actually kind of cool. I like the move that places 15% heal on all allies with lowest HP for 2 turns if this attack is critical. Revives, here it is. 2 random allies, 15% places Vel on them, so that's kind of nice. Maybe a 6 early game just because revives can be kind of nice for carrying. Cardno, I think, is like a 7.5 or an 8 because of this move. Revives all dead allies, heals them 25% of their max HP, and boosts their turn meter to the max automatically. Right off the bat, you get it max, which I think is kind of crazy. Lightsworn, same deal, probably 7.5 or an 8 overall. Good kid, attack down, revive. Then we're going to get to the rares. Sacred Order had a ton of them. Barbarians, same deal. We got to kind of rapid fire through these if we want this not to be a half-hour video. So Anina, I'm going to go 4.5, maybe a 5. Jotun is kind of like the small guy of Turvoden. Early game has good flat damage, but then falls off a cliff. So like 4.5, same deal. Sakara, I might actually give like a 5.5. I think her kit's a little bit better than the others in terms of like comparing to Aether, who's like a 3.5 because he's basically trash. And then Alika, same deal with Sakara. Although, to be honest, Sakara might have the better of the 2 kits. This one's all right for PvP, but still. Tashada, what is it? I thought this was a speed lead for everyone, so I was going to give her a high rating. I actually don't know her kit. Attacks when enemy revives a random ally with 40% of the HP if it kills it. I don't like things based upon if you kill it. 3, okay, so you get weaken. Yeah, I don't like her at all. That's like a 4 maybe. No, she's a okay early game clan boss character, just HP burn, etc. 4.5. Maeve is the new one. I don't know her kit. 40% chance of placing a sleep debuff for 1 turn. 50% chance of placing an extra turf plate. Okay. Attacks enemy places stun if the target's under sleep. Well, that just seems terrible. Kill by. Okay, she's terrible. 4. Wool of Pain, it's trash, like a 3. High Katoon's pretty good, like a 7. Vala, maybe like a 6. I mean, she's okay, but I think she got a little bit hyped up. Firstborn, not impressed with Vala, like a 5. Skytouch Shaman gets a 10 out of 10 just for that booty. My lord. My favorite character in the game. Okay, that wraps up the Barbarians. So we're going to move on to the Ogryn Tribes here. And this one has less of them. So we have Grimskin. Well, I'll tell you what. Let's go through the kit. 40% chance of decreasing speed. 1-2 times provoke. Attacks all enemies, removing 1 buff from each. So Grimskin, the reason I'm sitting here is because this A3 has the same ratio as Ray's A3. So if you build him with defense, he does pretty good damage. You would still have to build him with defense and crit damage, etc., which is kind of a bummer, but he does hit really hard. I'm going to say he's a 6.5. Okay, so Skull Crusher is like a 10 out of 10, easily one of the only counterattacks. Shatterbones, I don't really know anything about. Decreased speed on all allies, attacks all enemies 3 times, 50% chance of decreasing the turn meter by 50%. I wonder if that hits on each chance, or if it's just a singular time, because decreasing the turn meter 3 times by 30 would be hilarious. And then attacks an enemy 25% on all allies. I don't like that. If this, I don't actually know how this works. If this is 50% chance each time, then he's like a 6. Otherwise, he's like a 3 or a 4. Galut is a bomb guy, and that's like his only use. Attacks all enemies, places a bomb that detonates after 2 turns. So for that reason, he gets a 5 just for being a bomb guy. Cage Breaker, completely useless. He's like a 3. Cope Brawler is like an 8.5 just because of how good he is at poisons. Maybe a 9 if there ever was one. 10, there's a 10 just because he builds into so many unkillable teams. Towering Titan, maybe like a 6. I mean, he has some okay moves. It's just he's usually using all the fusions and he gets crunched away. I guess the Ogryn Tribe has some decent epics. Then we get on the Lizardmen, you get Bone. Jarang is like, Overrated. Some people keep saying he's okay. I just don't think so. He's like a 5. Jareg is, he's probably like a 7.5 or an 8. He's a very decent attack down. I think he's one of the best. Basilisk is a good spider tank, and for that reason, he's going to get a 7 out of me. Drake is, Facomorph, and he's kind of bad. 3. He gets 3 out of 10. Jizzo is a starting character. He's solid early game, maybe a 4. 5 maybe. Broadmoss, same deal, 4 or 5. Only good early if you get them. Then we get into the rares. A lot of these characters are like only good early, and as later in the game you progress, not so good. Taurus can actually do damage in the clan boss. Was it JRM, the killer, or the streamer, was using this guy with, I think it was Frenzy Gear or Fury Gear, I forget which. So he's probably like a 5. Flesh Terra is kind of interesting because of the buff and debuff extension. He probably gets like a 6.5. Ripper, garbage, he's like a 3. Rain Beast, early game cheese, so he's like a 5, and that's always good for. Maybe a 6. Snorthing Thug. Let's look here. Chance of random buff removal from attacker once per hit. Counterattacks the attacker if they have no active buffs. Pretty good. Ignores target's defense if they have no active buffs. Chances. He's like okay for buff removal. Maybe Magic Keep early. Maybe like a 6.5 just because of Magic Keep, and then other than that, trash. Yaga the Insatiable is an okay poisoner. He's probably like a 5 poisoner. Ice Crusher. I haven't used any of the new bears yet, to be honest. I wasn't really impressed with them when I was looking at them. Wasn't really that impressive. Maybe you could put him with some team with like him plus No-Rog, some kind of like tanky team. Not my thing. Maybe a 5. Same deal with this guy, the 2 furry guys or whatever. Steel Skull used to be like a 8.5 or a 9, but I think he's fallen off the bandwagon a little bit. It's like 7.5 or an 8 now. Strictly because there's other people that do what he does now. Their new characters keep coming out. So moving on to Basher. He's actually all right because of how easily he applies Weaken. I think he's like a 6. If we go up here to Greybeard, which is a rare, we'll move on to the next one. So now we're on to Orcs here. So going on to Orcs, we have Ultimate Gaelic, pretty good for clearing Spire 20. He's probably like a 7 for that reason. Torture Helm, it's really just used in fusions. He has a weird revive passive. Zargala is like a 9 because she clears through dungeons, is good in PvP. I think she's amazing. Bloodfeather is one of the worst characters in the game. Gets a 0 out of 10. Bonekeeper, same deal, 0 out of 10. Shaman, 0 out of 10. Terror Beast is actually interesting because he has, this move? Reflect damage on all allies, so he can be used to defeat the Fire Knight, and for that reason he gets a 6. Vrask, I think, is a 7.5. He's a really good healer and will carry you through like everything early game. Sandlash Survivor, I've seen people doing damage with. I want to say 5.5 or 6, maybe a 6.5. The character's like all right for kind of being, a freebie, but other than that, it's not really that impressive. Seer is definitely an 8.5 or a 9. This character is amazing. You want this character for dungeon clearing and PvP early if you don't have better characters. So actually, the Orcs have some decent epics in there. They got a few decent epics. And we get on to the Demonspawn where we start getting other ones. Allure is really good, like an 8 because of her basic attack, which can completely lock out enemies by decreasing turn meter on basic attack. Then we have Excruciator, who is single target damage with a Veil. Not very good. Chosen's tested her out. Not really a fan. Maybe a 5. Erin, yes, now is a poison on basic, which can be okay for early game poison, so she gets like a 6. Other than that, she's not good. Soul Drinker is a guy who has a unique mechanic because when you die, you place bombs on each enemy. So for that reason, I think he's like a 6.5 because he has a thing to do with bomb team. Other than that, he's useless. And Zon is okay because of early game protection and can be used early game Dragon 20s and also early game protection in PvP. She's probably like a 6. Inferno Baroness I used to use for clearing Dragon 20. I think since she got changed to attack defense instead of based upon attack, she's not as good because I used the mastery that made her counterattack when losing a lot of health. At least for my build, she's not as good. I still think she's like a 6.5 or 7 because she has opportunity in Spider 20. Hellgazer is like a 3, just not useful. Same kind of deal. Padma is a god, I should say. I thought we had one more epic here. Padma is actually a god. Attack down on everyone. She's probably an 8.5 here. Umbrella is probably an 8. Very good in PvP, and I had a chance to use her with the Affinity. With the Affinity Cup, I got a chance to use her in PvP. I thought we had one more epic in here, wasn't there? Oh, you know what? It's this chick I'm thinking of. I'm used to getting this chick from the 12-3 brew, though. I thought she was. No, she is a rare. Okay. So moving on here to the Undead. Now, the Undead are my favorite. Gorgorab is probably a 7.5. I mean, he has a AoE Revive, which is fantastic. Seeker is probably 7.5 again for Arena purely. Catacomb Counselor is like a 7.5 because of his charge. Dark Aetho is like a 3 or a 2. She's trash. Dark Elaine could have been a lot better if their passive worked a lot better. She's probably a 5.5, maybe a 6. Husk is maybe a 5 just because of the way his damage works on this move here. Karam is one of the only poison poppers, so he gets like a 5.5 for that reason. Lich is used in fusions, and he's Raid Shadow Legends Metapod. I would probably put him at like a 3. Hexia, not very good, like a 3. Defiled Sinner, maybe like a 6, actually. He's okay. Corpse Collector, because of the poisons, I think same deal, kind of a 6 maybe. Maybe not amazing. But Mausoleum Mage is amazing. 7.5 or 8 for sure. Very good all around. Probably 8.5, actually. Zelotaw, I think is like a 7. Good in dungeons early before you get better options and continues into the mid game. Oh, alrighty. Then we get onto the rares, but Undead you can just blow through because they're almost all good, and almost everyone knows that. Now, Captain Tamalia was okay when she came out. People were a pretty big fan of both this move. You get defense on everybody and heals, and then you get protection on everybody. That's still pretty good in epic form, so if you need those things. Spider I really like due to this move here, which is not a hit. It's just like a scream. There goes my phone, which does decrease defense and weaken in the same move. So it's kind of like a Phacomorph. You can get a fake Dracomorph there. Lure Area, I think she's okay for early game dungeons. I'm going to give her like a 6. Crimson Helm, I actually think is really good. I'm going to give it a 7.5 or an 8. I think there's a lot of potential with this character, mostly because of the Revive on Death plus increased defense on all allies. But then you also get yourself provoke and block damage. She's very good. I think she's very good, and she has very high base defense of 1531. So I think she's a good character. Warden, I pulled early, and he didn't do anything for me early, and he wouldn't do anything for me late. I think he's like a 3.5. Delver, same deal. People say that they like Delver because of this move. I don't personally like it. I don't understand why a single target weaken would be nice, unless it's like the only thing you have. Fang Cleric, I think, is kind of like a mini Lysandra. I'm actually a pretty big fan of Fang Cleric. I think he's like a 7.5. Now we get into the epics, or the Void epics, which are Lua, Sylar, Madame. I don't know about these three. Lua is going to be maybe a 6.5 because if you look here, 50% of the damage inflicted all allies if it's critical, or all enemies. That's nice for dungeon clearing waves. That being said, I'm not a huge fan of her outside of it. Sylar, I like. I've used her in the free-to-play. She has good AoE. She's used in PvP. She's probably like a 7.5 or a 7. The reason I'm not giving her a higher rating is she gets replaced later. Madame's like a 10 if there ever was one. Does everything you basically want in a supportive type of kit. And that means removes all of... She's a god, okay? You pull Madame, you're going to build her for sure. I built one fully out, and I probably built multiple of them fully out just so I don't swap gear around. Then we get the Night Revenant, which they really take some L's in Night Revenant. I mean, Crypt Witch is like a solid 3. Pitiless, same deal. Necro Hunter, same deal. We get the Mysticria Monster, though, that you get a 10 out of 10 epic here, maybe a 9.5 out of 10. And Sinesha, you get like an 8 out of 10. Doom Priest is probably a 7 out of 10. Sentinel is another 7.5 or maybe 8 out of 10. I mean, all these characters are like, I'm kind of skipping over them because these are like huge epics that everyone already knows. Deathless is trash, is like another L, which is like 3 out of 10 or 2 out of 10. Kaitis, same deal, trash. Faceless here actually has an okay move. If you look at his A3, ignore shield and block damage buffs as well as defense. That's pretty good for an epic. And then Skull Crown, everyone knows about. It's a 10 out of 10 epic, one of the best epics in the entire game. PvP, PvE, everything. Good lead. And then we're down to Golden Reaper, who I think is maybe a 5 out of 10. Actually, I don't give her very good ratings because this move is hard to get to actually do anything. I think she could have been good, but she needs a little bit more. And then we get on the Whisper, who has the darkest crevice in the world. And personally, what I think about Whisper is that her basic attack here needed something with extra turns, and then she would have been interesting. So I give her like a 6 out of 10, maybe a 5, maybe even 4.5 for that reason. Then we get to the rares. So they take some L's, but they also have some of the best epics in the game here. Kind of a hair miss. Then we get down to the Dwarves, the shortest one. Get it? The shortest list. Okay, Grizzled Jarl is pretty good. Everything in his kit's nice, especially in the supportive row. He's an 8, maybe an 8.5. Rearguard Sergeant, same kind of thing, but a little bit more offensive with defense down. But you also get protection. I would say probably a 7, maybe a 6.5. Rockbreaker, I'm not too experienced with him. Say 5.5, just because I've seen some videos of people using him popping off, but I don't really like the way he has to, continually receive damage to become good. And the Fellbeard, I think, is just overrated. Counterattacking is cool, but only when you actually have a character that's worth counterattacking with, and I just don't see that with Fellhammer. And then we're down to Longbraids, who's actually the Rodos killer, is a very good character in PvP. Kyra Mobile uses Gala Longbeards to gain the platinum, and he's had great success with her, and I'd probably give her an 8.5, maybe an 8. So that's going to be the full list of every epic in the game, rated 1 to 10, with a very brief one-liner about them. You guys wanted to see this video, so here it is, and if I could get a like and a subscribe for it, that'd be wonderful. I love you all, and I'll see you on the next video, and let me know what you want that video to be.